Hi everyone.
Hello.
Okay, so part 2, and actually the last part until the verdict. So how do you think part 2 is going to go?
Well, with what we have seen so far, I don't think it's gonna continue the same thing. He's gonna say some bullshit and he's gonna piss off the judge.
Yeah, I actually think I don't see how it can go any other way, because that's just how they've been the entire time. So yeah, let's get going, right?
Yeah.
Now I would like to show you, I believe this is the full drone video, Exhibit 73. Okay, please play it. To see. So in this one, it is difficult to see the raising of the gun because it's the full video. I would encourage you, if you find it necessary, to take a closer look at the bigger TV. Please stop it. Now, if you see in this video, Mr. Richards wants to make it seem like the only recourse the defendant has in retreating is walking into this mob of people who are breaking cars. But look at all that open space that he has. At this moment, he could have turned around and ran in that space and gone right back up Sheridan, and everyone would be alive and everyone would be fine. Instead, he decides to start slowing down and run into these cars in which he is supposedly trapped, which would be like being trapped in a Target parking lot. As you see, as we keep playing it, he goes around them no problem, and he goes right into this totally clear space that was available to him the whole time. He did not exhaust his duty to retreat. He did not exhaust all of his options. Now, I'm going to go to the video. I'm going to point something out. Mr. Binger is going to play it again, and I'll show you. This is in relation to Mr. Richards indicated that no one that attacked or that went after Mr. Rittenhouse in the second incident observed the shooting. That is not true. This video shows the person that is referred to as Jump Kick Man leaving the scene. And we have another view as well from another video, but I will point that out. See this man in a wheelchair who's struggling to get out of the way? This is Jump Kick Man is right here. He sees it. He's standing there the whole time, and he comes and he helps push the man in the wheelchair out of the seat. So he absolutely was there. He did see what happened. What's next? This is Exhibit 10. This is the Ford Fisher video. If you look after the shooting, it shows this individual pushing the wheelchair away from car source 3. There he is across the street, pushing the man in the wheelchair away out of the scene. Video. This is a video you've seen before. It does look better on the large television, but this is where he comes into the screen. This is one of the videos that Mr. Armstrong cropped for us in his 20 hours of work. This is slowed down by 50%, and it zooms in as good as possible given the limitations of the video. I'll point it out up here, but I said it is better seen on the large TV. There he is pointing the gun. He's not close enough to the car to have that be a factor. He puts on the fire extinguisher and he freezes up. It is. Now do the next student.
Mr. Close.
Oh, we got it. All right. We'll do that one. Again, that really wasn't an issue at trial until the defendant lied about it. Now, Exhibit 84, this is another video that Mr. Armstrong did in his 20 hours of work. And this shows the part of the chase. That's where you see him point. Mr. Rosenbaum does his jump. See the defendant slowing down, seemingly preparing to shoot. And look where that first shot is. Go back play one more time. This is the zoomed in image that will eventually was shown. Look how far he's not reaching. He's being shot in the hip and falling. And he goes immediately to the ground, and the defendant sees fit to keep shooting at him, although he poses absolutely no threat. Again, 4 feet from the barrel of the gun, not from Mr. Rittenhouse himself. Here is another video Mr. Armstrong made in his 20 hours of work. I believe he made 6 of them all told. They're all in evidence. Here's a close-up of the final shooting. The puff of smoke is already out. He's already upright. He crumples immediately to the ground, but the defendant keeps shooting him. So did Mr. Rosenbaum turn and get shot in the back that way? No, he was even less of a threat. He was falling face first on the ground with his hips shattered. So yes, he was shot in the back, and he was killed by a shot in the back, and it was the 3rd or 4th shot. Attorney Richards indicated that Nick Smith called the defendant. Nick Smith did not testify to that. He was never asked. We don't know who called the defendant to go to that scene. And despite the fact that there's this madman out there who's such a threat and who's going to kill the defendant, he just saunters down there all by himself. No problem. He's not scared. This threat, if it even existed, was not taken seriously. He's a babbling idiot, as Mr. Lukowski said. Mr. Rittenhouse testified he didn't hear anything before he shot. He didn't hear this "fuck you." He didn't factor in the gunshot. There is no evidence that Mr. Huber did anything untowards that evening. They talked about pushing a dumpster, picking up pepper balls. That was not evidence that was ever submitted in this trial. And I don't know where it comes from. No evidence that he told Gage Grosskreutz, "I had to shoot in self-defense." And Attorney Richards talks about how, well, Mr. Detective Howard testified in a certain way and how he didn't talk about the drone footage or anything. He knows we got the drone footage, surprisingly, after Detective Howard testified. Guns do not have handed. There's not a left-handed or right-handed gun. So, yes, the demonstration.
This isn't us, goodness. Oh, fun.
What's happening?
Oh. Maybe they lost, oh, that's someone, that's not ours. So,
Then he
yeah.
returned.
This thing was
Told by
lost.
others that saw it that he was the shooter, and then he returned. So Gage Grosskreutz relied on this statement of Mr. Rittenhouse. Let's talk about a rush to judgment. Mr. Rittenhouse turned himself in. Are you supposed to wait days, weeks, months to charge murderers who we know murdered people? It's a red herring, as Mr. Binger said. It's throwing up red herrings, false hypocritical arguments, and attacks on those that Mr. Rittenhouse killed to try and distract you from the fact that he was not in imminent fear of death or great bodily harm, and he was not privileged to act how he did. We heard from Ms. Carrie Ann Swart. Now that Nathan DeBruin talked about jail, now we can try to smear Mr. Rosenbaum more, although there really is no dispute, or was no dispute, that he came from a hospital. He's carrying a hospital bag. Ms. Swart testified that she talked to the hospital about how he would be released, that he went to this hospital. She knew he was coming home from the hospital. She knew it was in the bag, and he showed that picture of it backlit against the fire, trying to make it seem sinister. She talked about how there are medical papers in there. And we did that image again. Mr. Armstrong did this image for us, where you can get a little peek in the bag. And I would argue you can see medical papers. Though that big image they see looks like rolled up medical records that you get when you're discharged from a hospital. And Ms. Swart testified that he was given medications that day. Perhaps they didn't work. Perhaps there was a bad reaction. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But he was given them that day. He could not get the ones for future days because things were closed. Balch did not testify that he thought there was anything sinister in the bag. He said he said something inaccurate at the time, but he said that he saw shampoo bottles and a water bottle. Mr. DeBruin, he did take some nice photographs, and he clearly wanted the world to know that he took some nice photographs. He's really more relevant to Mr. Zeminski, and he apparently, this is the photo of the bag, you can examine that further. Mr. DeBruin must have some problem with police and DA's offices. He goes to the detectives, he doesn't give a full story. He says, he testified to this is not me saying anything, he forgot things because he was so nervous because the door to the police station still had an unrepaired window. That caused him such nervousness that he could not give a full statement. He meets with us in a very polite, short meeting. He has very little relevance to this case that we knew about. And yes, we showed him some videos. Is this Josh Zeminski? Oh, no, it's not. Okay, would you see him in these other pictures? Yes. You don't know it's Josh Zeminski? Okay. Somehow that's us getting him to change his statement. What's that? We show him pictures, videos, say, is that Josh Zeminski? I don't know. We show him other pictures. Do you recognize that as the same person? Yes. That's not getting him to change his statement. We had him read a statement. Do you have anything to add to it? No. The next day, he goes over to Mr. Richards' office. All of a sudden, he knows all this extra information that wasn't in his statement. Oh, but he was so nervous meeting with us because we showed him a video or photograph that he took of Joshua Zeminski. And then what does he do? He goes and hires a lawyer very closely connected with a gossip blogger who attacks my office on a regular basis and who is very pro Rittenhouse. Another just funny coincidence in this case, just like how Mr. Hernandez, who doesn't live in this state, could hire any of the thousands of attorneys in Wisconsin or tens of thousands of attorneys in the state. But no, he hires an attorney who Kyle Rittenhouse's defense team has already paid money to that firm. What a coincidence. So Mr. DeBruin doesn't tell us any information, then tries to attack us, and then tells the defense a lot more information. Mr. Rittenhouse denied pointing a gun at the yellow pants man, said he was being sarcastic. Well, Mr. Richards basically just admitted he did point the gun. So which is it? We know that Mr. Rittenhouse was going around that night trying to be a paramedic, a policeman, and a fireman without receiving any real training in any of them. Tough job to do all three at once. And he went around with his gun trying to scare people, to intimidate them, to not do minor property damage. He's a chaos tourist. He was there to see what was going on, act important, be a big deal. And then the moment a little bit of that chaos comes back at him, he cowardly shoots a man instead of fighting back. You put yourself in this situation, you know it's going to be out of hand, it gets a little out of hand, someone is chasing me, and you have to shoot him. That is not privileged. That is not reasonable. And that is not what any reasonable person in the defendant's shoes would have done. We kept hearing about this rock in his hand. There's no evidence of there being a rock in that hand. Now, there's talk about how the defendant maybe have re-racked his gun. We don't see that in the video. We don't know what he did. But we do know that as Gage Grosskreutz is sitting there with his hands up, the defendant turns over his gun and is looking at it and is doing something with it. The defendant admitted to this, that he looked at the gun. Fully reasonable that Mr. Grosskreutz could have assumed that he was re-racking and preparing to fire. And it does not mean that a unspent shell casing has to be on the ground. Officer Bray testified that she shot AR-15s. She knows AR-15s. If it jams and there's an unspent shell casing, the re-racking will take out the unspent shell casing. It does not have to be a live round. I don't know what he was doing with his gun, but it's certainly reasonable for Mr. Grosskreutz to interpret it that way. And then what does he do? He doesn't step back and take a firing position and shoot. He didn't shoot him 5 to 6 seconds earlier when Mr. Rittenhouse was being an active shooter after having killed his second person and shot at his third. He would have every right to have stopped Mr. Rittenhouse's activities at that point. But he didn't. He came up closer, he surrendered, and he said, he believed his surrender was not being accepted. Who shoots someone like this? Is he trying to shoot his own hand off? He never does anything about an actual position to shoot that gun. And as Mr. Richards admitted in his closing, when it's pointed at his head, his arm is already blown off. We're supposed to be so scared of Mr. Grosskreutz with his Glock when the defendant is holding a loaded AR-15. Then there's this preposterous argument that, Kelly Zeminski is holding a flashlight, it must be to bash heads. Certainly no one carries flashlights at night to walk home in the dark or walk to your car in the dark. I take when I take my dog for a walk. I'm looking to bash in heads? No. We hear about how, this vicious kick that, if you watch it live, did not seem to make much contact, spun him 180 degrees. That is Kyle tracking him with the gun and shooting at him. He's moving as he's moving. That is not the force of the kick. And the video makes that clear. But again, we're grasping at straws and we're throwing out red herrings. And now a skateboard is a deadly weapon. Someone should tell all the parents and grandparents and Santa Claus giving skateboards this Christmas about how they're giving their children a deadly weapon. I guess they should get them an AR-15 instead. It's just preposterous. And yes, Mr. Huber was acting heroic in holding down that and taking that skateboard and trying to hold him down and trying to take that gun. And what happened? The gun stayed attached to Mr. Rittenhouse. Because when the defense concocted this, they were trying to take my gun story, they left out that it is literally strapped to him. He shot an unarmed man 4 times because he was so scared that Mr. Rosenbaum was going to take the gun away from him when it was attached to him. It is an absolute red herring. It is an absolute ridiculous argument. Imminent threat. Not, oh, in 5 minutes after we get beat up, then I might be a threat. Imminent threat. You've heard all the videos. I'm not going to go into it in any more great length, but when you listen to the crowd as Mr. Rittenhouse is running, they start yelling after as he's running when they're screaming, "Get him." Also, as people are approaching him at the end, they're asking, "Why did you shoot him? Why did you shoot him?" These are people that were provoked because they witnessed an attack or heard shots or heard he was attacking, and they took action. As Mr. Bringer said, I probably wouldn't do it either. But that they did it is brave, and they did not deserve to be killed. Kyle Rittenhouse has a strong ties to Kenosha, but he needs Google Maps to find a business he says he's driven by every day. He supposedly knows Kenosha so well and is such familiar with Kenosha that he doesn't realize you can walk 1 block either way to get back to the car source. He didn't want to go back to the car source. He wanted to go see what was going on. He wanted to stay in the action. He wanted to continue to do things that would make him feel big and make him feel important. These minor injuries we've heard the defendant have, again, Mr. Richards misstated the standard. It is not could have caused great bodily harm or death. It is not likely to have caused great bodily harm or death. It is imminent threat of death or great bodily harm. Where is that when you get a couple scrapes? Everybody takes a beating sometimes, right? Sometimes you get in a scuffle and maybe you do get hurt a little bit. That doesn't mean you get to start plugging people with your full metal jacket AR-15 rounds, and no, bullets are not bullets. And we heard testimony about that. Mr. Richards mentioned this in opening, but apparently he's noticed that the evidence doesn't bear it out. He talks about this, how Mr. Rosenbaum put this shirt over his head to hide his identity because he's going to go ambush Kyle Rittenhouse. Well, then obviously watch the videos. He's had that shirt on his head for some time. Whether it's COVID, this is all pre-vaccine as we know. Whether it's tear gas, whether it's fire, whatever it is, he's using it to protect his face, not as some evil plan to get Kyle Rittenhouse. They're setting this fire and they begin walking down Sheridan. There's no evidence that they knew he was coming. There's no evidence that they had any plan to get him. I'd submit to you that the Zeminskis and Mr. Rosenbaum were doing what they were doing all night. They were going to go bash that Duramax or start or stoke a fire. Kyle sees this and then he runs onto the scene. That's clear in the FBI video. He runs onto the scene. He puts down the fire extinguisher. He raises up his gun. Mr. Rosenbaum yells, "Gun, gun, gun." Why else would he yell that? It's very possible that while he was yelling friendly, 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 he's doing so while holding a loaded AR-15 at the Zeminskis. Mr. Rosenbaum was going to chase him out of there to end the danger. And Mr. Richards boasts that, you know, something along the lines, you won't do shit, motherfucker. Well, Mr. Rosenbaum was wrong. Oh, that's an attaboy right there. Way to kill someone unarmed because you won't engage them. He raises the gun, he provokes the attack. He has to retreat. He has to exhaust all remedies before he regains the right to even use self-defense, not even to use deadly force. That's a whole other separate question. He does regain the use right to self-defense if he exhausts all options. He does not. He could have ran a different way. He could have fought. He had all sorts of different ways to exhaust his options. He did not do it. As I said in the beginning of my closing, I don't think you even need provocation. An unarmed man chasing you and you shoot him 4 times as he's falling, you kill him as he's falling in front of you because you don't want to physically defend yourself, that's first-degree reckless homicide right there. And Mr. Richards kind of plays games with the name reckless. Reckless means not intentional in this circumstance. And you can read the jury instructions, you can come to your own conclusions. And fire an AR-15 in any circumstance like this shows utter disregard for human life. There's no other explanation for it. If you're shooting an AR-15 at close range of people, you have no disregard for human life. That's not really in any dispute. I want to leave you with this. The meaning of reasonable doubt. I'm going to read portions of this instruction. Obviously, you'll have the whole instruction. The term reasonable doubt means a doubt based upon reason and common sense. It is a doubt for which a reason can be given. A reasonable doubt is not a doubt which is based on mere guesswork or speculation. That's what the defense is asking you to do, to guess what Mr. Rosenbaum was doing, to speculate what Mr. Rosenbaum was doing, to speculate and guess what Mr. Huber and this unidentified man were doing. We don't know because he killed 2 of them. All we can look at is the evidence and see him standing pretty much straight up or exactly straight up when he was shot in the hip and immobilized. A doubt which arises merely from sympathy or from fear to return a verdict of guilt is not a reasonable doubt. The defense's whole case has been trying to stoke sympathy for Mr. Rittenhouse and showing how everyone else was just a terrible person. Every life counts. Every life matters. If people did bad things that night, they could have been prosecuted. It's not up for Mr. Rittenhouse to be the judge, the jury, and eventually the executioner. A reasonable doubt is not a doubt such as may be used to escape the responsibility of a decision. There's a lot going on in this case. We all know that. We all knew that from the day we walked in on November 1st. But this verdict should be about what the facts are and what Mr. Rittenhouse did. That's what the 12 of you who go to deliberate will go and decide. You are the fact finders. You decide what is beyond a reasonable doubt. You decide what he is guilty or not guilty of from this menu of options that you now have. An imminent threat. The only imminent threat that night was Mr. Rittenhouse. He was not acting in legal, justified self-defense. He's guilty. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Krause. Members of the jury, the time has now come when the great burden of reaching a just, fair, and conscientious decision in this case will be placed wholly with you jurors selected for this most important duty. You will not be swayed by sympathy, passion, prejudice, or political beliefs. You will disregard any impression which you may have regarding what you believe to be my opinions on the guilt or innocence of the defendant. You will disregard the claims or opinions of any other person or news media or social networking site. You will pay no heed to the opinions of anyone, even the President of the United States or the President before him. The founders of our country gave you, and you alone, the power and the duty to decide this case based solely on the evidence presented in this court. You will fearlessly keep faith with those who have entrusted to you the fair rendition of justice and the protection of our freedom. You will be very careful and deliberate in weighing the evidence. I charge you to keep your duties steadfastly in mind, and as upright citizens, to return just and true verdicts. You will decide only whether the defendant is guilty or not guilty of the offenses which are charged. Any consequences of your verdict are matters for me alone to decide and must not affect your deliberations. It will be for you to determine whether the defendant is guilty or not guilty as to each of the offenses charged or submitted. You must make a finding as to each count of the information. Each count charges a separate crime, and you must consider each one separately. Your verdict for the crime charged in one count must not affect your verdict on any other. This is a criminal and not a civil case, and therefore, before you can reach a verdict which may lawfully be received, it must be reached unanimously. In a criminal case, all 12 jurors must agree in order to arrive at a verdict. When you retire to the jury room, select one of your members to preside over your deliberations. That presiding juror's vote is not entitled to any greater weight than that of any other juror. We're going to stop at this point, and I'm going to ask that you return tomorrow. I'm going to let you take a vote. When you want to start tomorrow? You can choose 8, you can choose 8:30, you can choose 9.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well.
There was so much bullshit that he said.
Oh yeah, he said a lot of bullshit. First of all, run towards the danger. Yeah, okay.
No. It was that he had so much open space that he could have run to. It's like, yeah, okay, but if he went the direction that the defense is saying that he should have gone, Rosenbaum, who was already gaining on him, would have caught him faster.
Yeah.
So, would it have been fine then if Carl shot him because he was attacking him? Would it have been okay if Rosenbaum had killed Rittenhouse?
Oh, probably, because he had a gun, so that's fine.
Yeah, he's a fucking moron. Also, they're 4 feet from... that Rosenbaum was supposedly 4 feet from the barrel of the gun. If you've seen the video... In fact, let's see if I can pause it on the thing. So... Right, hang on.
See this man in a wheelchair?
So apparently cars are wider than 4 feet.
Oh, damn.
Well, they would have to be.
Mm.
Because of how close Rosenbaum was.
Mm.
Oh yeah, this bit here, that's not us.
Mm.
We're not that fancy.
Yeah, no, it was... it was a few things that he mentioned there. Also, the jump kick man that he said about pushing the lady in the wheelchair.
Yes, the one in the wheelchair.
Yeah, so I guess he changed his pants there in middle on the street so no one noticed it.
Well, I was thinking about that.
Mm.
And we're confusing two guys. So you got Yellow Pants Guy and Jump Kick Man. They're not the same person.
Yeah.
That's why I wasn't going to mention it. Because I realised it and I was like...
I was like thinking, wait. He had yellow pants.
Regardless...
And now he has white pants?
Regardless, he got out of danger and then he went back into danger.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, that seems like someone who is not all there mentally.
Mm.
Because someone's literally just been shot, and yes, you have the foresight to get somebody else out, but you're going back in to what? Get shot at? I don't understand.
Mm.
Then you wrote. There's so much crap that he was saying. I just got.
Yeah. I mean.
Well, hang on. Just before that, even though there is a lot. Was it a jury member that said something?
Yeah, and Lunchbox seemed insulted. But that was during
His bullet pointing of everything.
no, he was speaking bullshit about the witness statement. The one that hired a lawyer because
Nathan, yeah.
yeah, because they wanted to put words in his mouth, and he completely bullshitted what happened.
In fact, he had to add, we're having a nice, pleasant, short conversation.
Yeah, and he starts blaming the witness and telling him that he's
That he must have a problem with law enforcement or the district attorney. It's like, no, he has a problem with you two.
Yeah.
Because you two are fucking corrupt as shit.
And yeah, he's clearly a pro Kyle. He's had, and he's
thing.
this and
He
that.
forgot things because he was so nervous because the door to the police station still had an unrepaired window.
The door to the police station still had an unrepaired window. That's an interesting way of putting what he said, which was that the entire front of the police department was destroyed, that it looked like a war zone. That's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah.
He's such a fucking piece of shit.
That caused him such nervousness that he could not give a full statement. He meets with us in a very polite, short meeting. He has very little relevance to this case that we knew about. And yes, we showed him some videos. Is this Josh Zeminski? Oh, no, it's not. Okay, would you see him in these other pictures? Yes. You don't know it's Josh Zeminski? Okay. Somehow that's us getting him to change his statement. What's that?
Oh no, it wasn't the jury member. It was the stenographer.
Okay. But lately, yeah.
You go through it because you've got so many more notes.
Oh yeah. He also claimed that there does not exist any left or right-handed rifles. Yeah.
No, can you explain it? Because I've never held a gun. Only a BB gun.
I don't know the words in English though. That's the problem. But where basically where the empty shells drops out, there is either made for a left-handed. It drops out.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, on each side. I don't know what the word is in English.
Re-rack?
The casing drops.
Expulsion. The expelling of the shells.
Yeah. And basically also how you hold it, because you have a thumb. Each hand has a thumb, but you have it different.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And also, if you're one thing I do know, as limited as it is, if you're looking down, like for example, if you're looking down the scope of a gun, it would depend on what side you put the gun. Will depend on whether or not you'll get fucking singed in the face or not with an expelling bullet. Is that also what you meant with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
English is hard language for me. Yeah, and also he wrote about. He said about. Bam. What's his name again?
Who? Rosenbaum?
Rosenbaum. Yeah. He didn't say why he was at the hospital. Because he was a normal man. A normal man that goes igniting fire, just joins riots like a normal man. A peaceful, normal man.
Yeah, that screams "shoot me N-word,"
Yeah.
and
Can't
it's
visit his girlfriend because it's not legal.
well, no, it's not that it's not legal; it's that he's not allowed there.
Yeah. Like I said, a normal man.
Yeah. It's completely normal for a person to diddle kids according to Lunchbox and then attempt suicide and go to hospital because of that, and then upon release realise that they can't stay where they've been staying because, surprise, surprise, they've diddled the children there. And yeah, it's all completely normal according to Lunchbox. I don't fucking know what pissing planet this man has flown down from, but he can fuck off and zoom back up there. And he can take Binger with him.
And he also lies about I forgot. There was several stuff coming at the same time, but he was lying, attacking about the guy with the photos that got the lawyer.
Nathan DeBurn.
Nathan, yeah.
Yep.
Lying what he said, etc.
Misrepresenting what was said.
Yeah.
He was also misrepresenting what Kyle said, and misrepresenting and lying about what Ryan Bolsh said, and misrepresenting at literally everything that fucking happened. Don't believe your lying eyes and ears. Don't believe anything that the witnesses have said. Just believe us.
Yeah.
We're telling you the truth. And this is why America has a constitution. Because the government lies.
But he also says if you are attacking or getting attacked, don't defend yourself with a gun because it's cowardly. So, well, why do the police and the army have guns? They should run into the fights of war with just their fists and boots.
Well, I mean, let's not forget also knuckle dusters.
Yeah.
They're also classed as a weapon. Can't use that. You have to go in bare fists. Let's see how quickly they all quit because, well, their hands are smashed to smithereens.
Oh, well, I think knuckle dusters doesn't do any harm according to him.
Oh yeah, no, because according to him, only guns are weapons.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Nothing else. Not a spear. No melee weapons. You could get a fillet. What is it? Fillet? I want to say fillet, but it's not because that's a type of meat.
Yeah, it goes into the next note I has like.
What is that called? Is it a flail?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
The one where you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that comes into the next thing I had because according to Lunchbox, kicks in the head does not cause any harm.
Oh no, neither do skateboards.
Hitting people with a skateboard like a blunt weapon, using it towards your neck or head does not cause any harm at all either. So I guess knives and axes doesn't count as a weapon either because they probably doesn't do any harm.
There's never, ever, and please hint on the sarcasm, there's never been somebody who has been murdered by a mallet or by a blunt object or by being punched to death, kicked to death. If we were to use Lunchbox's knowledge, logic, every one of those should be set free because it's a disgrace of justice. They didn't do it properly.
I guess it was very peaceful during the medieval ages then.
Yes.
There was no one dying of fists or feet or blunt weapons there.
Well, not even Middle Ages. It still happens. Literally, there was a woman. I can't remember what the case was. I just remember seeing. So one thing I like to do is I like to watch like police body cameras. There was a woman. She was basically suffering from postpartum depression. Husband was at work all day, and they already had a kid, and she just couldn't cope. She basically smashed the baby's head in.
Yeah,
But according to Lunchbox, that was no.
No, don't cause
The
any
child, it was not dead. The fact that the child looked dead and wasn't breathing and wasn't responsive and had no brain activity and had no heartbeat wasn't dead because a hammer doesn't class as a weapon because it's a melee weapon. It doesn't shoot.
yeah.
This is how fucking stupid the
Yeah.
whole entire argument is.
Yeah, also, here I actually wrote that Lunchbox actually is acting more childish than Binger. That's... yeah. Congrats, Binger. You are not the worst.
The fact that they work together is just scary.
Yeah, and he once again mentioned that don't use gun on any kind of attacker because that's cowardly. So, yeah, remember that if you're in the army.
It's nice that he's calling the entire police force, entire army, navy, airmen, all of it, everyone, every single one of them, Queen's Guardsmen, all of that, they're all cowards because they have guns and they use guns. That's great. Anyone who has a gun as per the Second Amendment in the Constitution of America.
He just called you a coward.
Yeah. Which is, I find that quite amusing. I'm not even a gun owner. I don't live in America. I'm not an American. And it's just like, wow, you are literally setting yourself up to be screwed over because I can't imagine a single person
not getting offended what he said, to be honest.
I do wonder how I've said this before, but I do wonder how their careers have gone since then. Since this.
Oh, yeah.
I can only hope that it's not gone well.
Well, then, yeah, he said, every life counts. Then I wrote, except Kyle's, question mark.
Yeah. Well, of course not. He
had a gun, so therefore...
Well, no, he was defending himself from a fucking lunatic that was running at him who had threatened him earlier in the day, which, despite Lunchbox trying to ignore multiple witnesses, have stated that they've seen him do it. But yeah, apparently Carl's life doesn't matter. It's fine. It's fine. The fact that Rosenbaum is no longer on this planet and he was a danger to vulnerable people already, I don't know, I would consider that a net benefit to the Kenosha community, to be quite honest.
Then lastly said, this trial should be about facts. And I wrote, our fake facts, question mark, because he said, because Kyle is guilty. So what he means, this trial should be about their facts.
Yeah, it's about facts, but you don't listen to their facts. Don't listen to anybody else that testified. Just listen to us. Even though it's about facts, and now it's up to you, fact finders. Cool. I hope they find all the facts, and I hope you haven't eaten them all. I can't.
It's literally annoyed me that he called everyone that has a gun as a coward.
When he said he was cowardly.
Yeah.
And it doesn't give you the right to, when someone's running at you, and you've already turned around and pointed your gun at them and they haven't stopped. In fact, they've started running at you faster. Yeah, I don't know. To me, that just... I don't understand at how they thought they could win this case. I don't know how they thought they could. In my personal belief, I think they knew that they weren't going to win it. That once because there was other charges against Carl, which was, bringing a weapon across state lines, a minor in possession of a firearm, those both got thrown out.
Yeah.
And I think once things started getting thrown out and people were like, no, that's not what happened. I think they just thought, fuck this. I mean, earlier on in the trial, Binger seemingly tried to cause a mistrial.
Yeah.
Twice, well, multiple times. And like this, it's just ridiculous. It is honestly a joke.
Mm.
And unfortunately, their joking around has possibly affected Carl for the rest of his life. I don't know. We don't know him personally.
Mm-hmm.
Can only speculate. I would assume that, because he wasn't kept in, he was kept with the main population, wasn't he?
Mm.
Until the trial, and even during the trial, he was, But it just, to me, it just doesn't sound. It doesn't sound like a good place for someone who thought that they were doing the right thing in protecting themselves, didn't believe that they broke the law or any law, being kept in an area with actual criminals, people who actually committed crimes and were charged and found guilty of those crimes. It doesn't sound like something that I would think would be a positive influence on their mental capabilities.
Yeah.
Or their, mental fortitude.
I just wonder how many all other cases that they have handled.
I would want them looked at.
Yeah.
I think I even said that in my ranting at one point.
Yeah.
Not in this video, some videos ago. But I would like to know how their careers have gone, if they still have a career. I hope they fucking don't. And what cases had they been involved in before now.
Mm.
Because I would, if it was me, I would want them to be reviewed. Because I would not, how bad they've been. The fact that they basically, they witness tampered, especially with Nathan De Bruin.
Yeah.
I mean, what they did was the reason why he got a fucking lawyer. He's not stupid, and they thought he was.
Also holding witnesses while stating what they're saying.
Yeah,
They
and
also-
trying to bring it into evidence.
Yeah, and also the police detectives and shit that they were.
They were told about
Yeah.
Rosenbaum. Carl told them about Rosenbaum touching the barrel of the gun, and it wasn't tested.
Yeah, etc. I mean, I think there's a lot of shit done.
Well, yeah, it's like what I said in the last video, and I've said it multiple times before. They tried to railroad him. They tried to hammer this case through so they could use it as, like, look at what we did. We did so well. They tried to use it essentially as a stepping stone in removing self-defense and Second Amendment.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of states in the US at the moment where you can't open carry. You can't conceal carry.
Mm.
And it's kind of just like, yeah, sure, they've for me, as, as a tertiary background character of Second Amendment, seeing people in America enjoy their Second Amendment, I love that. I love seeing that. But it's kind of like, sure, they're slowly quashing away on your rights, and there's just, if you were to point it out, there's some people that are like, no, you're being crazy, you're going crazy. No, they're not curtailing free speech. No, the First Amendment, that doesn't include hate speech. The fuck are you on about? What?
Mm.
Just as an example, if you have any qualms about what people say and the fact that, hate speech should be made illegal, just look at the UK. Hate speech is actually a law.
Mm.
And it's so ambiguous. It's, honest to God, it is. This is what part of the wording of the law is. Hate speech. Someone commits the act of hate speech if somebody found their speech offensive.
Yeah. If someone.
And it's like, what? And it's gotten so bad, and it's just like, we don't even have the Second Amendment. I mean, you can get a gun in the UK, aside from criminally, but like farmers can have guns and stuff. Hunters can have guns. You just can't have one in your house. As you can't just go out and buy one. like there isn't gun shops. It has to go through the government, I believe, and there's like a shit ton of forms and crap, and
Yeah.
it's a whole. They've made it so difficult you kind of just don't even want to bother with it, and it's the whole thing with America, and people just not. Some people not respecting the Constitution. It's just think about it. Like, just think about it. Think about what you're giving up. Like, there's been several dozens of times where I've seen stuff that I find, pretty abhorrent. But it's like, oh, they had the right to say that. Good for them.
Yeah.
I don't like what they're saying, but good on you to be able to say it. Well done on you on having the confidence to say that, because I don't.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't. And it's just depressing. What were you going to say, sorry?
I forgot.
Oh.
I forgot.
It was literally just a second ago.
Yeah, but it disappeared.
Just find it. I don't know. I can't even with these guys. He's a joke, and he's an even bigger joke. Like, I do wonder what it was like trying to deal with them.
Oh.
Like, from these two attorneys' point of view, I do wonder what it was like trying to deal with them. I can only assume that it was a pain in the ass.
I think Lunchbox is quite the bully.
How do you mean? Bully in what way?
I still remember when he chested himself up looking at other lawyers. He seems to be a bit of a bully.
I don't think he's a bully. I think he's just extremely insecure. And he acts like he's insecure, and he behaves like a child.
Yeah.
Because for me, like, I don't know about you, but I have been bullied, and like I kind of stopped classing certain things as bullying if it had absolutely no effect on me, like at all. And I kind of just wonder if he thinks he's being this strong, powerful attorney, when actually other people just see him as a bumbling idiot.
Yeah.
That gets too emotional. I mean, the fact that his tie here is creased and none of his jackets have ever fitted properly. Like, they're too short. Like, they're too short on the arm, and they're too big here. Like, this should be snug against this. But it's not. It's just... I get annoyed, so I'm getting quite personal with with how he is, and I don't want to overstep. But I just don't like it.
I would ask Binger, because Binger actually do have suit taste, kind of. Although I don't like that color, but yeah.
Disagree. I mean, his suits they seem to be tailored. Possibly. However, his hair, the person who's in the suit with that god-awful haircut and that awful style has ruined said suit.
Yeah.
I would rather see Roadkill in that suit than Binger in the suit. It would make it substantially better. But, yeah. Anything else to add?
No.
Oh, well. The last one will be the verdict and the reaction to it.
Yeah.
Not just our reaction, but people outside the court.
Yeah.
But yeah. If you have any comments, you can leave them down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you want. You don't have to, but it does help out the channel. And yeah, stay hydrated, wear sunscreen, and don't eat yellow snow.
And pet cats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And beware of the seagulls.
True that. Right. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.